invoking, you cannot delegate it to private agencies.
Interesting. So Rachna, very quickly, one by one, I'll take a full round. One moment. Yeah, Namit, I've got your point. Rachna, so the point that Namit is trying to make is that you cannot have, yes, we need to fight fake news, and all possible, anything that needs to be done should be done, correct? But you cannot be drafting laws or amending laws very loosely. For instance, according to him, the use of the word online platform, this is draft rule 3, subsection 9, online platforms need to identify unlawful content. Online platforms not defined. What is an online platform? Not defined completely. Need to identify, which means the onus is on them, unlawful content. What is unlawful? Not defined. Do you think the time has now come that the government gets in an expert panel? Let it be of, some social media giants, advocates, IT experts, maybe some social media users. All of them come and, basically understand the essence of what we are fighting and how we need to fight. That's where you will be able to define these words better. Otherwise, these are just words.
Exactly. And they will lead to more litigation. In the sense, I'm speaking as a lawyer. Every act, draft or the finalized gazetted version, every act has the first section of every act is its definitions. Now in this specific IT Act, when you're talking about online platform, etc., it needs to be sure. It needs to be absolutely sure as to what exactly you're talking about as far as online platform is concerned. So I would suggest that the government lists out its criteria of online platform, fake content, unlawful content, what exact activities it is going to be listing out as unlawful in an exhaustive manner, or be as exhaustive as possible, because and this would, of course, I'm all with the idea of having an expert panel draft this bill, actually, not just leave it to politicians and babus, but expert panel comprising of IT giants, might or might not be, but certainly legally equipped people, lawyers, advocates, as well as other socially conscious.
My point is, Rachna, my point is, while we are waiting for the law to evolve and its definition to evolve, Mr. Sudhindra, see, the point that are being made by both the lawyers is that we should have an expert panel. Words should not be loosely written, because then they will be subjected to misuse. But Mr. Sudhindra, the point is, what do? Do you sit and wait for that utopian perfect law to come into existence after having spoken to each and every stakeholder? Or do you introduce something and then correct it? Because let's realize, people are getting killed. It's happening right now. I don't know how one is supposed to deal with this, but I would suggest start the process and bring about improvements. This is what amendment is called. This is how you define amendment. Sudhindra. Mr. Sudhindra, can you hear me?
Yeah. See, I'll tell you one example of the kind of amendment that this government is going to make. There is a certain article called 67C, which refers to the obligation of the service providers to retain for the data retention. It says the service providers, be it any service provider for that example, has to retain data. It does not specify the format. It does not specify the time frame. It does not specify how actually it has to be, and none of these companies are answerable to the Indian security establishment as per the same law. What do you say? There is absolutely, the ends simply don't meet, because what they are saying, with zero explanation, the companies will always have a free run.
You're right.
And they themselves are creating many loopholes which can easily be explained through.
That's a really fair, I would say, explanation of what is actually going to happen on the ground. Karthik, would you agree that in this quest that we need to fight and we are trying to introduce certain things. I mean, you've got, because Sudhindra took this name, I'll repeat. There are reams and reams that have been written about Apple, how Apple, basically the company, did not even comply with United States norms. The US government, the federal agencies wanted them to crack their technology so that they could actually help in an investigation. Apple said no. So if they can say no to their own government, what are the odds of them saying yes to us? Or for them to actually come out and identify unlawful content? They will not.
One more thing to this question, where laws are already in place.
Yes, Karthik.
See, basically, these guys are like cowboys. They are trying to maximize their profit. They are trying to do acquisitions, and for them it's all startup. We are also missing a point here, is whatever this particular act happens will also affect the social media, and not only social media, including our Swiggy and the kind of food delivery kind of systems, because all of them collect data, all of them use the data. So the whole idea here should be seen as a holistic measure and not only restricted to a particular way of doing things or a business and how it is being done.
That's why, Karthik, this is tricky. No, Karthik, this is why we are calling this tricky. You are saying that the moment you use these laws, it will affect certain essential services, which are actually helping our economy as well. You mentioned Swiggy and Zomato. It's leading to a lot of employment. That technology is helping a lot of people.
Yeah,
but my point is,
Zomato took a beating because one of the guy who was found eating, and it got viral. So the whole idea is whether was he eating, was he not eating, and was the whole thing. It's the whole 9 yards. So the whole idea here is what is good, what is not good, what is fair, what is not fair, and what is fair for me and what is not fair for me. So as the lawyer put it very clearly, what is lawful, what may not be lawful for somebody else. So the whole gamut here has to be taken into account. The artificial intelligence part of it has to be brought into this whole scheme.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Namit, Rachna, MG Sudhindra as well as Karthik. It's always engaging to know about how to deal with technology. Because, you know, the biggest problem when you deal with technology is that it keeps changing. So by the time you draft a law to deal with a particular technology, the law is already obsolete because the technology has moved on. So how do you work this out? And then there is this quest to fight fake news. Thank you very much. Stopping for a short break at this moment on India Ahead at 9. Starting today after the break, we are going to introduce a very, very interesting segment. It's called Election Analytica. In the build-up to 2019, how would you want to understand 2019? Various aspects which are not divided in binaries but need to be understood. Back in a moment.